definitely has an ordering element to it, right? We have 4 lectures and we're trying to order them. But it's technically a hybrid game because not only are we trying to order things, we're also trying to group them together. Who did what, right? So you have 4 art historians, and then you have the 4 lectures, and the lectures will give them one at a time, with each art historian giving a lecture on a different one of the topics. So if you have 4 lectures and everyone is giving one on a different one of the topics, that means all 4 topics have to be used. So you can just go ahead and say, okay, well, this is the order of the lectures. Well, here's the lecture topics, I guess, and here are the people who are giving the lectures, the historians. So this is a hybrid game because we have grouping and ordering. Are we cool with that so far? Okay, I think going around, pretty much everyone had that set up. Then it says the oil paintings lecture, and you know, all these words tend to slow me down because I'm always trying to think like, oh, oil paintings lecture. Does that mean O is important, P is important, or L is important, right? It's like I found that the one hard thing about this game is just focusing in on the relevant variable. But anyways, O and W must be earlier than L. So, okay, O and W have to come before L. Did we link those together? Okay. I think I saw some of us do this, and the challenge with this is then you can't link stuff off of O or W, right? So I would do this as 2 separate dashes and say, hey, O is going to come before L and W is going to come before L. Okay, then it says F must be earlier than O. So if F is earlier than O, F is going to come before O. Now, these are not the same thing, right? F is a person and O, L, and W are lectures, but it's still true. F has to come before those things. So the only thing you have to be careful of is that normally this would mean what about L?
It would be last.
It would be last, right? Because if you have 3 things before it, then L would have to go here. But really, we only have 2 things before it, so L is between here and here. At least, so you kind of have to do that taekwondo there. H must be earlier than both G and J. Okay, so H is before G and J. These don't link together. What should we do at this point?
Floaters.
Floaters. Who are the floaters?
S.
S. Notice we have 4, 3, it's 7, you have 8 variables, and S is the only thing that's left. And I wrote S near this thing simply because S is one of these, and so I wanted it to be close to that. Okay, now let's make some inferences. One inference that we just talked about is that L has to be in the last 2, right? So you could write L with an arc. I ended up doing this to say, hey, look, L's got to be in that back half. Okay. What else can we infer?
H has to be in the front half.
Yeah, H has to be in the front half. Excellent. I'm just going to get rid of this 1 because I hope it's pretty obvious that that's 1 and 4. H has to be up here. We don't know which one, so we'll just put it there. And anything else? Yes, Josh.
F has to be up there with H.
H, yeah, F and H have to both be up there, right? So are we cool with that? Is anyone confused about that? F has to come before O and L. So even though they're on the bottom shelf, 1, 2, the earliest that F could be is up here in slot 2. So H and F are in effect going back and forth here, which is actually pretty huge because now the top row only has 2 left. And who are they?
G and J.
G and J, so they've got to go back here. Again, we don't know their order, they're just going back and forth. So L is going to be with either G or J. Sound good? Okay, let's look at the bottom. What do we know about the bottom?
O has to be in the middle too.
O has to be in the middle too. Yeah, so L is going back and forth here, and O is going back and forth here. Yep. It really depends on F, right? So you could put a dotted line here just to say, look, these are connected to each other somehow. Oh, sorry. What?
W can go last.
Yeah, W cannot go last. You could write that down. It's definitely true. I would try to represent that positively. And so what I would do is I would say, actually, okay, so one thing here is that we could write W before L, but I don't want to suggest that W has to be in that back half. So now that I've already written that line, I'm kind of constrained in terms of what I can do with this diagram. But one thought I had at this point was, if F is there, what's going to happen? O is going to go there. That's going to force L to go there, right? So then you know the last two. And then you'd know H, because that would have to be there. And then these two would be W and S going back and forth, right? So I thought, oh, that's kind of nice to know. So I just decided to create two worlds on the basis of F, because there's only two options for F, and one of them already seems promising, the other one maybe not so much, but hey, you draw them both out and then you're done. And like all worlds, by the time I was done with these two worlds, I was kind of like, was that worth it? But then the questions were just like, boom, boom, boom. Every single one is answered by those two options. So, did anyone create worlds on the basis of something else? Yes.
I did.
Would you do your worlds on the basis of F as well?
I knew that G and J had to be in the back, so
Yeah.
then I started with F being before the line, and then GJ
Uh-huh.
going back and forth, and then F being the first.
The first.
G.
Yeah, so we did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, did anyone create worlds on the basis of something else rather than F? Okay, let's take a look at those really quick. So when you do worlds, you can save a little time by doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not saying you had to do worlds for this game. You definitely don't. But 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to use the top and bottom, so I'm just saving time. Now remember, the key factor was F. So either F is going to be here or F is going to be here. So I do want to do that. When I create worlds, I start with my assumptions so that I don't ever have to think like, oh wait, what was the basis of my two worlds, right? All right, this one was the easiest one to fill out. So I'm going to start here. O and L go here, right? They got to come after F. We have G and H going back and forth. H has got to be first, and then W and S are left, and S is a floater. W just has to come before L, so this is going to be S, W, arc. Sound good? Okay, who's got world number 1? What can we put in there? Josh?
And then on the bottom.
I think your top is going to be easier. If F goes first,
Then H second.
H has to be second, right? Okay. And then, what else do we know about the top? GJ, going back and forth. Okay, now let's talk about the bottom. The bottom is not as helpful, but one thing we do know is that, what do we know about the bottom, I guess?
Oh, that was before F.
Is L last?
It's third or fourth.
I think it's either third or fourth. Because we could do OL, W, and then S.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, what did you say, Josh?
I just said O and L after F.
They have to be after F, right? So here I decided to do a line here and say, okay, I'm going to have O and L come back here somewhere. Now, I kind of cheated a little bit. I did W like this because W could be on either side. And then we have S's left. Right? Now, all I'm doing this for is so that I can move this stuff around in my head to answer these questions. Yes?
Number 2, couldn't H and F technically go back and forth?
No, because we created these two worlds on the basis of F. We said, oh, okay, either F has got to be first or F has got to be second.
So the alternatives covered by the first two.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Like we're saying, okay, those are the only two possibilities from this initially, right? And we're just going to set some things into stone. We're going to say, okay, well, let's just assume that F is second. Let's just assume that F is first. I mainly did this because this, when you assume that F is second, a lot of things kind of get placed. Wait, how do you feel about that? You don't seem convinced.
No, I mean, I see where you're going. I understand why you did it that way.
Okay, cool. I couldn't tell if that was a Okay, yeah. We'll talk about that later. Or if it was a real, okay. Okay, cool. So, question 6, unfortunately, you just have to go back to the original rules. What's the easiest rule to grab here? FOL. It's 2 actually, which is great. So if you look for FOL, that's going to get rid of A. What else is that going to get rid of? FOL, FOL, F. Oop, wait. That gets rid of, no, it gets rid of D too. Because you have O before F. So D is out and FOL. Okay, good. Now, what else we got? We have WL. This is just easy. Just grab WL. That's fine for B. That's fine for C. That's fine. What do we got left? Oh, E. WL. Oh, that's all good. All right. How about H before GJ? H before GJ. That's a problem in B. And that's a problem in C. So we're left with E. Even if you create awesome worlds, it's often faster just to resort back to process of elimination. I hope we're all good with that. Okay? Now, question 7. Skip. 8. If the water lectures is 3rd. So, if the water lectures is 3rd, which world are we looking at? World number 1. Amanda, you feel good about that? Okay, so if water lectures are 3rd, W is going back and forth between 1 and 2 here. Right, so can't have W in 3rd in this world. So it's got to be this world. So you could draw this out, but if you have this drawing, what happens if you put W in 3rd? If you in your mind you put W there.
L is last.
L is last.
O is second.
O is 2nd. Because it's got to be behind that line, which is going to force S in 1st. If you're cool with keeping that in your head, keep it in your head. If you can't, just draw it out. It takes a few seconds. Then you could say which of line could be true. F gives W, no, because that's in the back. G gives O, no, because it's W and L. G gives S, no, it's in the front. H gives S. No, because S is in the front. J gives L. Yes. We could have W, L, and J with L. Okay? Are we cool with that? So 8 is E. 9, skip. 10. If G gives the sculpture lecture. Oh, if G gives S, which world are we dealing with, Jerry?
First world.
First world. Because you can't do it here, right? S is stuck between these two. So if G gives S, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, G gives S. What must be true if G gives S?
That was last.
L is last, and? Because these two have to be back here, right?
Wait, but how do you know L is last if G and J can switch back and forth? How do you know G is 3rd?
I don't know that G is 3rd.
Okay.
That's a good point. So G and S are going back and forth here. So if it's like this, then L would be last and O would go here. Otherwise, this would switch, right? And J and L would come here. You're absolutely right. But what is still true is that O is stuck here because it's got to be in those last 3, right? And then the only thing left is W, which has now got to come up front. Okay, so what could be true? L is 3rd. Could that be true? Yeah. We could switch GS and JL. Okay. Okay, so 7, which of mine must be true? We just have to go through these, but when you have worlds, you're just looking for something that is true in both, right? So F is earlier than S. Does that have to be true?
No.
No, disproven right there. H is earlier than L. Yes. Does that have to be true here too?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. I couldn't put L here because I have to have O in front of it. So that's the answer. Cool. 9, which of one cannot be true? All right. Could F give L?
No.
Not here and not here. That was nice of them. I love it when they're nice. Mona, how do you feel about that?
I'm thinking because of question number 10.
Okay, question number 10. If G gives the S lecture, so if G is doing S, right? Are you okay with these two worlds?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not looking at this one, right? Because G is not doing S in this world. It couldn't, even if we tried. So over here, if G does S, then G and S are together. They're like a block. One way you can think of it is like this. Right, they're together. And if G and S are together, then there's no more room for W back here. Because this line right here was saying O and L had to be in the last three.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So W comes first, and O and L are either here, or L can switch with S.
Okay.
So when question 10 says which could be true, and A says L is third, we say, yeah, L could come there and be third.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on this game? Josh?
For like going back to this later purposes,
Yeah.
what should our like target time for this game be approximately?
Yeah, I think
When we're all married then.
when I think 6 to 7 minutes is a good time. I don't think it's unreasonable to do this in 5, but I don't think it's necessary either. I think 6 to 7 is a solid time, and enough time too to make sure that you get everyone right. Right? It'd be a bummer to get questions wrong on a game like this. It's okay if you got them wrong tonight. I'm just saying eventually this is going to be on the easier side. It's probably like a difficulty 2 or 3. Okay. Any other questions?